After more than a decade of debates, protests, hope and anger, Kerala's most ambitious rail project has just been scrapped. A 530-kilometer semi-high-speed line that promised to cut travel time from Thiruvananthapuram to Kasaragod to under 4 hours, officially cancelled by the new UDF government in May 2026. Was Silverline a visionary dream killed by politics, or a financial and environmental disaster Kerala narrowly escaped? Stay with me, because in this video we'll trace the complete story of Silverline, from the first idea in 2010 to the final cancellation, and what it really means for Kerala's future. And if you care about big projects, jobs, and how decisions like this shape your life, hit subscribe right now. This channel breaks down India's biggest infrastructure stories in simple, honest language. Silverline, also called K-Rail, was a proposed 530-kilometer semi-high-speed rail corridor from Thiruvananthapuram in the south to Kasaragod in the north. It planned to connect 11 major stations, including Kollam, Chengannur, Kottayam, Ernakulam, Kochi Airport, Thrissur, Tirur, Kozhikode and Kannur, covering almost the entire state's length. The promise was bold. Instead of 12 to 14 hours on existing trains, you could cross Kerala in less than 4 hours, with trains running at up to 200 kilometers per hour on a separate standard gauge track. The estimated project cost was around 63,940 to 64,000 crore rupees, and it was to be implemented by Kerala Rail Development Corporation Limited, K-Rail, a joint venture between the Kerala government and the Ministry of Railways. On paper, it looked like a game changer. But how did this idea even begin? The idea of a north-south high-speed rail in Kerala first appeared in the state budget around 2010, when then Finance Minister Thomas Isaac highlighted the need to strengthen rail and water transport to handle Kerala's rising mobility needs. Over the next decade, different versions of a high-speed or semi-high-speed corridor were discussed, but nothing concrete moved on the ground. Things picked up after 2016. The state formed K-Rail with Indian Railways, and in 2019 the French consultancy Sistra submitted a feasibility report for the Thiruvananthapuram-Kasaragod semi-high-speed line. A detailed project report, or DPR, followed in 2020, laying out the 11-station alignment, speeds, ridership estimates and funding pattern. By June 2020, the Kerala Cabinet had formally approved the DPR after a minor route change, and the project was projected to be completed by around 2027. From the government's side, Silverline was now a flagship vision project for a modern Kerala. The LDF government sold Silverline as the backbone of a new Kerala. They said it would decongest highways, reduce dependence on private vehicles and buses, and make inter-district travel smoother and more predictable. Official documents claimed around 80,000 passengers per day and argued that shifting people from road and air to trains would cut carbon emissions by several million tons over the decades and save hundreds of crores in fuel every year. Silverline was projected as a green project that would run entirely on clean energy, boost tourism, and create large-scale jobs in construction, operations and related services. In short, supporters saw it as Kerala's ticket to a modern, climate-friendly transport future. But outside government files, a completely different narrative was building up. Almost as soon as survey stones started appearing on people's land, resistance erupted. For many residents, the project wasn't just a line on a map, It was a 530-kilometer scar that could cut through homes, paddy fields and wetlands. Environmental groups like the Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad warned that embankments and earthworks across low-lying, flood-prone areas could worsen flooding and damage fragile ecosystems if not designed with extreme care. They also criticized the government for pushing ahead before publishing the full DPR and a detailed environmental impact assessment for open public consultation. Economists and policy experts flagged another problem: cost and ridership. Niti Aayog estimates suggested the actual project cost could shoot up from roughly 64,000 crore rupees to as high as 1 rupee. 3 lakh crore, and independent analysis questioned whether the projected daily ridership of around 80,000 passengers was realistic, especially when even the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train's projection is lower. Critics argued that if ridership fell significantly short, Silverline could become a massive financial burden, with ticket revenue nowhere near enough to service the debts and operating costs. For people whose houses were marked for acquisition, the risk felt personal. Land loss, displacement, and years of uncertainty. If you are finding this breakdown useful, pause for a second and hit the like button. It really helps more people discover this video. And tell me in the comments, are you team build it or team scrap it so far? Even as the state government pushed ahead with surveys and preliminary land acquisition, there was one big missing piece: full approval from the central government and the Railway Board. The Railway Board reportedly raised concerns about standard gauge tracks running parallel to existing broad gauge lines and how Silverline would affect Indian Railways' own plans for additional lines and capacity in Kerala. Over time, the union government repeatedly clarified that the project had not been sanctioned and asked for various issues to be discussed further with K-Rail. Meanwhile, on the ground, protests grew, and thousands of people faced cases related to anti-Silverline agitations. By late 2025, reports described Silverline as a dead project kept technically alive. No construction, no central approval, but the state had already spent over 50 crore rupees on surveys and pre-project activities, and even reimbursed K-Rail for land acquisition-related expenses. Social impact and environmental studies were still incomplete. No final EIA report had been put out. The project was stuck in limbo, neither fully moving ahead nor officially buried. That changed after the 2026 election. In 2026, a Congress-led UDF government came to power in Kerala, with V.D. Sathisen as Chief Minister. Within days, his cabinet took one of its most high-profile decisions: to scrap the Silverline project. The new government announced that all notifications for land acquisition along the Silverline corridor would be cancelled, and the yellow poles used to mark the alignment would be removed. They also declared that criminal cases filed against people who had protested against the project would be withdrawn, subject to court procedures. Sathisen said clearly that the UDF was not against high-speed or modern rail in principle, but that this particular Silverline plan was environmentally risky, financially unviable, and lacked crucial approvals from the railways. With that, more than a decade of planning, debate, and conflict around Silverline effectively came to an end. The semi-high-speed Dream Line was officially history. So what now? The traffic jams on Kerala's highways are still real. The slow average speed of trains, often below 50 km per hour, is still a problem. Silverline is gone, but the need for faster, safer and greener mobility has not disappeared. Before it fell, the previous government had even floated the idea of a regional rapid transit system along the same north-south axis, but that proposal never moved beyond early interest. The new government has signaled that it will explore alternative, more realistic options, perhaps upgradation of existing lines, better signaling, selective new corridors, or smaller-scale rapid transit links, rather than one mega 60,000 rupee plus crore gamble. In some ways, Silver Line has become a symbol. Supporters see it as proof that bold ideas get blocked by politics and fear. Opponents see its cancellation as proof that citizens can still stop projects they believe are environmentally and financially dangerous. The truth, as always, is more complicated, and that's why understanding the full story matters. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think scrapping Silver Line was a historic mistake that will keep Kerala stuck in the past, or was it a necessary decision that saved the state from a financial and environmental mess? Tell me your view in the comments, and if you lived along the proposed route, share your personal experience. I read every comment, and your stories might feature in a future video. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more honest breakdowns of mega projects like industrial corridors, expressways, and new rail lines, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Turn on the bell icon so you don't miss the next episode, and share this video with one friend who loves discussing development and politics. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll tease your next topic, for example, Kerala's new plans after Silver Line or India's fastest upcoming rail corridors. Until then, stay curious, stay informed.